What's up guys, Comic Book Movie Fan Productions back at it again with another ranking video. In today's video, I'm going to rank all 11 Marvel Netflix seasons. With Daredevil Season 3 that just dropped about a week and a half ago at the time of recording this video, I wanted to rank all the Marvel Netflix seasons. These seasons will be ranked based on how much I enjoyed them and how well made and constructed they are. And remember, this is my opinion, so some of these rankings you may not agree with, and that's fine, but please try to be respectful in the comments and put your rankings down in the comments because I would love to see what your thoughts are on these seasons. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Coming in at number 11 and last place is Iron Fist Season 1. This season is not good and is pretty messy. The problems with this season is first of all, Danny Rand is pretty unlikable. Throughout the season, he is portrayed as a whiny brat who brags about his title as the Iron Fist and gets annoying really fast. The drama between the family is interesting at first, but drags as the season goes along. The main villain, Harold, is weak, it has too many episodes, and is overall a messy season. It does have some positives in Colleen Wing, Madame Gao having some good dialogue and some good action, but the negatives outweigh the positives in the season that I wouldn't recommend. Coming at number 10 is Luke Cage Season 2. This is a massive step up from Iron Fist Season 1, but still isn't great. The positives with the season is that Luke Cage is still great. Mike Colter still gives a great performance as his character carried over from the previous seasons of his own show and the other shows. The action is still good, especially the stuff with Bushmaster. Mariah Dillard and Shades are still good and threatening. The episode with Iron Fist is probably my favorite of the whole season and is overall a decent season. But there are many problems that make this season my second least favorite out of all the Marvel Netflix stuff. First, it's too long. It should have been 10 episodes, not 13, because like a lot of the Marvel Netflix season, they pad out the runtime with unnecessary subplots and characters that drag the season down. Bushmaster could have been a great villain, and Mustafa Shakar gives a fun performance, but only shows up when the plot needs him to be, and his conclusion is pretty weak and not satisfying. And it takes a while for stuff to actually get going. Overall, it's decent, but definitely a step down from Luke Cage Season 1, and it's a shame that this show got cancelled because I would have liked to see this show improved. Like Iron Fist. Speaking of, number 9 is Iron Fist Season 2. This is an improvement over Season 1 in every way. Danny Rand is improved and way more likable and down to earth, unlike Season 1. The relationship between Danny and Colleen is better than Season 1. The villains are better, with Davos and Mary Walker chewing up a lot of the screen time. The action is better, the family drama is better. I like Misty Knight's role in the season, and they made the season shorter with only 10 episodes, so each episode feels important. Having the villain have the same power as the hero, but make it an evil color and beat the hero at first, it's a treatment of most superhero stories. The show can get a little boring with Joey and Ward fighting all the time. It's just too unfocused that holds this season back from being great. I would say that I hope they improve for Season 3, but it got cancelled. Hopefully Iron Fist and Luke Cage team for Heroes for Hire show in the future. Next up on the list, number 8 is Jessica Jones Season 2. This season is a definite step back from Season 1 of the show, but first let's talk about the positive. Kristen Ritter is still great as Jessica Jones, giving great emotion and comedy throughout the season. There are some really interesting concepts that we learn about Jessica's life, and a big twist happens halfway through the season that took me off guard completely, and the action is still good. It has a really good ending. And the episode featuring Kilgrave is awesome. The problem with the season is that, like Iron Fist Season 1 and Luke Cage Season 2, it's just too unfocused and too long. The stuff they do with Trish Walker is interesting, but it gets goofy towards the end. Jerry Hogarth's storyline is interesting, but feels completely detached from the story. There are a lot of characters and plot lines that start and end abruptly, making the season's story feel stitched together rather than having a natural flow. It's good, but not great. Let's hope that Season 3 improves upon this season. Coming at number 7 is Luke Cage Season 1. This season was a good start to Luke Cage, who was previously introduced in Jessica Jones Season 1. This season I liked overall. Most of the characters I enjoyed. Mike Colter gives a fun yet badass performance as Luke Cage. Misty Knight is a cool character, and so are the other characters at the barbershop. The villains were menacing, especially Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth and Avery Woodard as Mariah Dillard, and they have a great dynamic, and both play off Luke Cage very well. The big thing that holds this season back is it feels like two different seasons meshed up into one. Everyone talks about how they hate the second half, and I can see why, but I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. Diamondback is a goofy villain, and the twist they gave him felt forced. Luke Cage's backstory felt too goofy in the flashback scenes. The first half feels like a Marvel Netflix show and the other half feels like a CW show. Not bad, but a little goofy, especially for the tone they were setting up at the start. Overall, I liked it, but needed improvement. Next up on the list, at number 6, is Jessica Jones Season 1. This is definitely the darkest out of all the Marvel Netflix seasons. This show goes dark and earns it. Kristen Ritter gives a great and emotional performance as a broken Jessica Jones who has to deal with the trauma of her past and has to face her past head-on in this season. It creates a compelling narrative that you want to see what happens next. David Tennant makes for probably my favorite Marvel Netflix villain, tied with Kingpin for how creepy and sinister he is, and you want to see him get taken down. The problems with the season are that it's too long, some characters and plot lines felt derived from the story, and the conclusion to the season felt lackluster, but other than that, it's a really good season. And coming at number 5 is The Defenders. This Team Up miniseries, I guess you can call it, we're probably not going to get a second season anytime soon, since it got cancelled, but that's besides the point. This Team Up was very fun and a blast to watch. The dynamic between all 4 main heroes is great. Seeing these different personalities clash on screen through dialogue as well as fighting was exciting to see. No, the villains were good for the most part. The action was very entertaining to watch all these characters, and their different fighting styles were interesting to watch, and the conclusion at the hand was nice to see come to a close. The problems with the season is that it's too unfocused in a couple of places. The secondary villain like Luke Cage Season 1 wasn't as good as it should have been. Danny Rand acts selfish at points. Some characters have a deep connection to the hand that make them important to the story. Then there are some characters like Jessica Jones who hasn't even heard of the hand until the season started, and the final battle was a little underwhelming. Overall, it was a really fun, funny, and exciting crossover that didn't disappoint, but does need some improvement. Let's hope they make a season 2. Next up on the list is Daredevil Season 2. The season of Daredevil is great, but my least favorite out of all the 3 seasons. Let's start with the positive. Charlie Cox is once again great as Matthew Murdock and Daredevil. The introduction to the Punisher is great, and John Bernthal gives a chilling performance. The action is amazing, the dialogue is well written, and overall is a well-made season. The main problem with this season that holds it back from being higher up on the list is the Elektra storyline. I wasn't invested in it, and it only detracted from the show. Even though Elektra herself is great and Lillian gives a good performance, the hand felt forced. A couple side characters could have been cut out and it's too long, but overall it's still really good. Number 3 on the list is Daredevil Season 3. This is the most recent entry on the list and one of the best. This season has a great story that flows through the season nicely. The characters are so well fleshed out, the action is creative and well executed. The villains are fleshed out and interesting. The side characters like Foggy and Karen are given a lot more to do, and it overall has a season that is an improvement over most Netflix Marvel seasons. The only problems I had with it is the ending to the season kind of felt unsatisfying at points, and some characters felt unnecessary, but overall it was an awesome season. Coming at number 2 is The Punisher Season 1. This season really shows what you can do with the Punisher. The dynamic between Frank Castle and Microchip is great. The action is violent, it doesn't hold back. The emotional journey of Frank Castle is well handled. The villain is good and makes for a really well-made season. I don't really have many issues other than they didn't need to retell Frank Castle's origin story. But other than that, it's great. And finally coming in first place is Daredevil Season 1. The first season of Marvel Netflix is still the best. This season is near perfect with some of the best acting, action, story, characterization, and overall enjoyment more than any other Marvel Netflix season. It's pretty much perfect in my eyes. I absolutely recommend it. And that's my list. What's yours? Leave your list down below in the comments. Also comment, like, and subscribe if you want more content like this. I'm Comic Book Movie Fan Productions, signing out.